Hello, everybody. Steven here from Cardboard Coalition. And today I figured I would go over Marvel Zombies A Zombicide Game. And as you can see in the background, that's what I have up. I have the web page up, or the Kickstarter page up for that. But what I thought I would talk about is some of the poo-pooing or the argument, let's say the argument that's going on with the price of this Kickstarter. Now, let's start off by saying a couple things. One, Resvon and I are Zombicide fans, right? I purposely set this up so y'all can see it. I didn't get the Kickstarters. I wasn't into Kickstarter yet. We'll talk about that here in a second. But we have Black Pig, we have Green Horde, we have Horde Box, we have tons of extras. We have the expansions, if you guys can't see, lined up here. I've spent a lot of time and as little money as I possibly can trying to find all these extra things. I even went so far as to buy a game night box, right? A game night box from Black Plague so I can get, see if I can pop them out really quick. So I can get one character, all right? So I can get Bruce. Woo. Or I can drop him on the keyboard, right? So I can get Bruce. Or Mad Mortigan, right? He's Mad Mortigan. Let's throw him back in there. So I got a whole bunch of them just to get Mad Mortigan, right? I'm going to have to look at getting rid of these extras, all right? And for people who know me, I'm really not a hawk. I don't try to buy things to make money for myself off of it. I'm going to sell them off. There's a handful of them in there. Hopefully I can get as much as I paid for it to get sent to me, or as much minus $10 or so. Anyways, so with that, Resvon and I are Marvel fans. Well, I'm a Marvel fan. Resvon's a Marvel fan too, but we're both Zombicide fans, right? We love Zombicide. We backed Undead or Alive, which you'll see, and we are backing this. So full disclosure, we are planning on backing this. But because of that and the price, I started thinking about some things, right? So let's go ahead and jump into some of this right now. So when I first looked at this, I looked at the price. I was like, yes, couldn't wait till it dropped. I was actually at work, and in between, sessions, in between classes, I actually backed, right? And when I jumped on the page, I was like, $130? That's steep, right? And then I kept scrolling down. I know it's just for the base box. I'm like, ooh. There's both of them combined, $240. That's even steeper, but wait, there's more. And we knew this was going to happen, right? Then we moved down in $410. And that's the biggest pledge you can get so far. And there's going to be an all-in for anybody who kickstarts. They know this is usually an all-in closer to the last couple days. Or there is a way to grab, sometimes they don't do an all-in, but you can get like this package here, the 410, and the extras package or something that'll put everything else together. So what it got me thinking was I was already kind of like, that's pricey. And then videos started coming out. King of Average put out a video. I can't remember the guy's name from King of Average. I'm really sorry. I doubt he'll see my video, but I can't remember his name. But King of Average, check out his channel. He put out a video saying, nope, not worth it. I'm buying it not secondhand. I'm buying it once it comes out to the local game shops. It'll be cheaper. I don't have to pay shipping, all those kind of things. And then Alex over at Board Game Co. had a video that I saw. This is early on. I think the first day or two of the campaign kicking off. And if you can see right here, it's a 16-day campaign. We are 5 days into this 16-day campaign. And so after listening to him talk, I thought, yeah, I did feel like it was kind of expensive, and do I want to back it? And I started reading comments, and I'm on a couple Facebook groups that talk about Zombicide, and the Marvel Zombies Zombicide Facebook group, and hearing people talk and kind of bicker and argue about things. Mostly it's pretty good, and it's about what characters they want to see come out, but price does keep coming up, right? And so I thought I would go through and very lightly crunch some numbers, right? Very lightly crunch some numbers for you guys, just so you guys can get a perspective. So how I'm looking at this is Resvon and I backed Massive Darkness 2, Zombicide Undead or Alive. Sorry if there's a little noise outside. It sounds like construction workers are going. But going back to it, we backed Massive Darkness 2, Zombicide Undead or Alive, Marvel United, X-Men, Masters of the Universe. That was mainly me backing it. And now Marvel Zombies, which as soon as Resvon saw this was coming out, she asked if we can get it. So we're backing this one. But I was wondering, because it is the most expensive. And so this is how I set it up. I looked at those 4 or 5. I looked at those 5 games that we've backed. And I did back, if you guys are wondering, the animation collection, but I feel like it doesn't fit what we're looking at as well. There's 3 games, 2 of them were similar and 1 was different. It was all combined, blah, blah, blah. We did back that because Resvon loves Teen Titans Go. But anyway, so we looked at these 5 things, right? And what I looked at was the base price, just to get the base game. And I'll talk about at the end some of the controversy too that's kind of in this. And I am kind of like, I don't know why they did that, but we'll move forward and see. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's do some of the numbers. I'm not fancy enough to be able to edit videos and have all these numbers popping at you. And you're like, ooh, look at that. Oh, there's that there. And ooh, this is this here. And I did find out a lot of people do get all that edited. I don't have that kind of money, right? Because I'm wasting it on toys and video games. Not video games, but games, board games, and sometimes video games and board games. But these board games are toys in a way. All right, so anyways, I did crunch numbers. You'll see me look off to the side here a little bit. It's because I have my tablet out and I have some of my notes kind of sitting there because I'm not going to remember all these numbers, guys. I'm just not. But here we go. So I looked at the base pledge of Massive Darkness 2, Zombicide Undead or Alive, Marvel United, X-Men, and Masters of the Universe. And it's like the board game Clash for Eternia is the whole name. And then Marvel Zombies A Zombicide Game. And I'll refer to them in shorthand. I'm sure you guys will be able to follow. All right, so let's get down to the brass tacks. So, Massive Darkness 2. Like it or not, some people don't like it. Let's scroll down here to the pledge level. So there's the pledge level for the base pledge, $100. Now, actually, let me back up for a second. So the things that I looked at here, so you guys kind of get it, I'm kind of looking over at my list really quick, is I looked at base pledge costs. I looked at how many minis came in the base pledge. At this point, no stretch goals, no daily unlocks, just the base pledge, what you get in those boxes. Then I looked at how much the cost was per mini, and then or miniature, right? A mini, a miniature. And then I looked at the number of stretch goals for the base pledge, because sometimes with Kickstarters, certain stretch goals are connected to certain base pledges, and they're doing this in the Marvel Zombies 1, 2 for small things. It seems like mostly they don't, but I might talk about the Marvel Zombies one more time before this campaign closes. But anyways, so I looked at the stretch base, so everything that the base got out of the stretch goals and daily unlocks. And then I looked at the price per mini on that. And I will say it again, but for the Marvel Zombies, I had to estimate based on some of the stretch goals. And I will talk about that because we're 5 days in, so we're about a third of the way. We're a third of the way. We can say a third of the way into the campaign. As I'm filming this right now, which is Sunday, the 5th day of the campaign, right? All right. So let's go ahead and jump back. So let's go to cost. We're back to the cost, right? Massive Darkness 2, $100 for the base pledge. Then we get Zombicide Undead or Alive. I can speak. $100 for the base pledge. Then we move over to Marvel United, X-Men, and I did this because it's heavy-ish miniatures. A lot of people bought it for the miniatures, the chibi miniatures, but it's also Marvel, so I figured it worked in this. So the base pledge, which is the mutant pledge for Marvel United X-Men. I'm just going to keep calling it Marvel United, but no, I'm talking about the X-Men. Marvel United was $65. Masters of the Universe, which is definitely size-wise is closer to Undead or Alive and Massive Darkness 2, right? So this base pledge on this one comes in at $110, right? Then finally, as we kind of looked at in the beginning, we have Marvel Zombies. Marvel Zombies base pledge is $130. So Masters of the Universe bumped up $10. Marvel Zombies bumped up for the base pledge, the Undead pledge, which only gives you playing as the Marvel hero. Well, the Marvel heroes are, some of them are heroes and some of them are zombies, and you play as the zombie Marvel heroes. The Undead pledge comes at $130. It's $20 higher than the Masters of the Universe, which was $10 higher than their normal. And if you go prior to Massive Darkness and you look at their bigger scope games, I mean, of course, they have a original Massive Darkness. They have the Zombicides. They have Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Trudfang, which is still that some delays went on. It's supposed to come out. Things like that. $100 base pledge all the way up to Masters of the Universe. And then you get Marvel Zombies is $130. Now, let's go ahead and look at some of the minis. And at this point, I am going to, well, you know what? I'm going to run through all the numbers. At first, I'm going to leave a couple of the numbers out and then just look at Undead or Alive versus Marvel Zombies. But let's just go ahead and go through all of them. So, Massive Darkness 2. Let's jump into this. Lots of minis. There are lots of minis. This is what comes in the core box, are all those minis. You can go down and it gets numbers, and I pulled the numbers. So Massive Darkness 2 comes with 68 miniatures, right? So in the core box, if you would go buy this at a store, 68 miniatures. That is it's 147 pennies, but it's $1.47 per mini. Then we move on to Undead or Alive. All right. And here's another one. Lots of minis. These are all the minis that come in that core box, which you can go get at a store. Right, that core box. So Undead or Alive comes in at 88 miniatures, right? 88 miniatures. Then the next one we have, and I think Massive Darkness 2, Zombies, Marvel, Undead or Alive, and Marvel Zombies are the closest. And obviously Undead or Alive and Marvel Zombies being the closest, but there is a reason I'm kind of going through this, right? So then we come over here to Marvel United, and this one comes with 10 miniatures. Now, if you wanted to know, the original Marvel United came with 8 miniatures, and it was $10 less for the base. So you can do the math if you want to. But this comes out, for these chibi miniatures down here, it comes out to $6.05 per miniature. $6.05. Keep that in mind, guys. And granted, in the other ones, there are duplicates, right? But let's go. So then we get into Masters of the Universe. So we have $110. It shows you all the miniatures that you get in this box, right? Masters of the Universe, you get 34 miniatures in the core box. And that breaks down to a cost of $3.52 per miniature. Then we move on to Marvel Zombies, $130. You have to scroll down a little bit more on this one to get what comes in the box. There's stretch goals, and we'll talk about all this, guys. Let me get down there. There's Galactus, right? There's all this fun stuff. This is what I'm talking about, some extra Kickstarter. I didn't count those in the miniatures so far because they're connected to a certain expansion. All right, so these are the miniatures you get. I guess they don't just have a grouping because they want you to really check them out. So I'll just scroll down really quick so you guys can see them. Right? These are the miniatures that you guys get. All right. So the core box has 87 miniatures, and it breaks down to $1.49 per miniature. All right. And once again, like Massive Darkness, like Undead or Alive, and like Masters of the Universe, there are duplicates. There's a lot. There's 7 of these guys. 7 of each of these sculpts, right? And then the rest of the sculpts are all single sculpts. All right. So then I went down and I looked at the stretch, connected to the base stretch goal. I looked at the miniatures that came and all that, and I did the money cost per mini and let's go ahead and run through that really quick. So we have Massive Darkness 2, added 75 more miniatures. Actually, I didn't do the math to add them all together, but add 75 more miniatures if you got it on Kickstarter. you got 75 more miniatures, which broke the cost down per miniature to 70 cents per miniature. That's with the stretch goals, 70 cents per miniature. Undead or Alive added 78 miniatures. So that broke the cost per miniature down to 60 cents. Masters of the Universe, Marvel United, I abbreviated over here, Marvel United, X-Men adds 56 miniatures to that base pledge if you got it on Kickstarter through stretch goals and dailies, which their miniatures come out to 98 cents a miniature. Then you go on to Masters of the Universe. They added 76 miniatures, which broke down to 91 cents a miniature. And I have a thing marked off to the side. 4 of those sets are, there's a couple multiples, but 4 of those sets have multiples, and they're what's it called? 3D objects, the 3D objects, right? And then there is a miniature that's even smaller than the normal miniature, which is the miniature He-Man, the miniature Skeletor, which you get 8 of each of those. So those are actually in that count. But going back, so Masters of the Universe with the 76 miniatures added to the, if you got it on Kickstarter, so you get it added. If you just got the base, you would get those anyways. And it breaks Masters of the Universe down to 91 cents per miniature. Now we move on to Marvel Zombies, right? It's what we all want to know. So what I did with this, I do not have, obviously, all the miniatures are going to come out in daily unlocks and stretch goals at this point. So what I went ahead and did was I looked at Undead or Alive, and I took that number. I guess I could have averaged it, but if you look at the 3 that are more the big box style games, so your Massive Darkness 2, your Undead or Alive, and your Masters of the Universe, they respectively had 75, 78, and 76 miniatures. So I guess we could even say 77 miniatures, but I also rounded up, on some of these at the second decimal point. I had to round up, right? So right now, as it stands, if Marvel Zombies comes out with 78 and even 77, really, if I went back and did the math, I guarantee you guys 77. It would break down to roughly, because these are all rough numbers, roughly 79 cents per miniature. All right. Now, let's go ahead and look back at the 2 Zombicides, right? Because a lot of you guys, if you're watching, maybe you're just watching because you like this channel, you know me, your friends and family and all that stuff, but you're watching. So, but you might be watching because you're interested in the fact that I'm looking at Marvel Zombies, right? So let's go ahead and look at Undead or Alive because they're both Zombicide games, and I know there's differences. But hey, feel free to yell at me in the comments. It gives me comments. But I know. So let's go ahead and look at that. So Undead or Alive was 60 cents with the stretch goals. And Marvel Zombies is estimated 60 cents per miniature with the stretch goals added to the base pledge. Marvel Zombies is 79 cents per miniature with the estimated amount of miniatures that you're going to get with the base, the stretch goal and the base put together, 79 cents. Not a mathematician. I did not put the difference in. But let's go ahead and look at some of this stuff that I did notice as I was flipping through here. So let's go to our Undead or Alive. Let's jump down. Tons of survivors. Actually, I think this is where we want to start. These are daily unlocks. Where's the breakdown? There's a breakdown of the boxes. It's, I think, what I really want to get into. I think it's past all. This is the breakdown of the boxes. And let's go back and look at the core box and what you get. So let's just go ahead and jump back to the $100 versus $130. We're looking at 88 miniatures base box versus 87 miniatures base box. And we're looking at $1.14 per miniature base box versus $1.49 per miniature base box. Let's start there. All right, so Undead or Alive. You get 14 heroes, right? For Marvel Zombies, you end up getting 6 heroes. But there might be something you might notice as I'm flipping through here. Look at these 6 heroes. Those are your 6 heroes that you get. And trust me, I like Undead or Alive too, versus the Undead or Alive heroes. They're not necessarily bigger, Hulk's bigger. I'm assuming they're probably about the same size. But look at the bases, right? And this is something I'm going to bring up later. All right. So then we move on to the zombies, right? So there are 72 zombies, right? 73 zombies, right? 73 zombies. I don't know why I wrote down two. 73 zombies. And that consists of these walkers, eight of each of these sculpts, these two runners, 8 of each of these sculpts, these two fatties, 8 of each of these sculpts, and 1 abomination. Now when we jump over to Marvel Zombies, what would be your walkers and your runners and your fatties and abomination? We'll talk about those right now. So we scroll down here, and what we got is these are your walkers, the shield troopers. Then you have your runners, which are the shield special agents, and then you have your guards, which are the shield, or the fatties, which are the shield guards. Now, if you notice, these are seven copies of each of these miniatures. And I would say there's a little bit of base mold on there, like they're making the base do something. A little bit more, a little bit here. You can see a little bit more on these. So there's one less of each of the sculpts of these, right? Now, the Undead or Alive, if we jump over here, has an abomination. Oh, I know why there's 73 and I put 72. So, has an abomination, right? One abomination, which we have right there. And I think it's cool, and I can't wait to paint him up with the little purple. I think those are derby hats. Are those called derby hats? I can't wait to paint him up. It'll be fun. But let's jump over here. Ooh, I do this all the time. I'm sure you guys do too. These are your abominations, right? Air quotes. For Marvel Zombies. The heroes are coming to try to stop you as a zombified hero from doing what you're doing. So these are the stretch goals. No, not stretch goals, sorry. Oh, man. These are the abominations. Scratch out of your head. These are the abominations. I was looking because some of the stretch goals are the zombie version of these. But these are your abominations, right? So here you have 6 abominations versus 1 abomination. Once again, look at some of these bases. These are crazy sculpted. I'm worried about painting these. This is the first time CMON from when I've been looking at this stuff. So we can go back. We can say back to Black Plague. This is not the first time they sculpted bases. I can say it. Sculpted bases. Actually, it was Marvel United. And so, but you have very detailed sculpted bases, which I hope I can paint as well as I can paint the hero or the actual miniatures, which is that great. So you have 6 heroes. Now, one of the things that I will point out here, and you probably saw me scroll past it, is in this game you have what's called bystanders. So in here in the base box, you get 12 bystanders. Now, their bases look like they're dirt sculpt, maybe a little concrete, very simple sculpts. But you have 12 bystanders. Does that make up for the lack of poses? The poses, let's see how many are here. I'm just thinking this right off my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I should have known that because I keep painting all the hordes right now. So there's 9 different walkers, runners, and fatties. So if you look over here, Undead or Alive, I'm talking about these guys, right? There's 1 more of each of these. So technically, there's 9 more here in the walkers, runners, fatties. Than there are of the shield troopers. But Marvel Zombies comes with the bystanders. I had to glance over there for a second. They come with the bystanders. So, what does this mean overall? Is this expensive? Yes. I am not saying that in any way. I'm going to get this. There's one other game that I kind of want that I know is coming out in the next couple months on Kickstarter. It's because it's a Marine Corps game, or Marines are at least in it. So I kind of really want it. But in my own head, I'm going to spend a lot on this. I'm not going to back anything for the next couple months, right? To try to make up for this. So it is expensive. I'm not saying that at all, guys. What I am saying is that these are some of the most detailed, in-depth sculpts I've seen from CMON. right? And granted, you can look at me as just being a backer since Zombicide Black Plague, but I did, and you guys might sometimes see it in the videos, usually over here, I did get everything that came for Smog, Rise of Moloch. And those sculpts are really cool. They're definitely really cool. But look how detailed these sculpts are as compared to these sculpts. And I'm not knocking these sculpts. I know some people do, and I won't put names out. If you guys watch different YouTube channels, you'll hear some. There's at least one person, if not a couple, who make fun of them. But I think they even back Zombicide too, and they buy the stuff. But look at these heroes versus these heroes. I mean, let's say protagonists, because they're not really heroes. These are zombies. I mean, come on. There's a come on. There's a big difference. Now, when you get down here to the walkers and runners and fatties and stuff, we scroll down here. I would say they're similar across the board, even though they have little bases and stuff. I mean, the fatty does look a little more in depth than the other fatties, but I mean, the rest of these are pretty much the same, right? And then when you look over here, you look at the bystanders. Some of them are way more detailed. It's probably who they are, based on who they are, and like very detailed outfit and stuff, which will make it easy to paint, I think, not being the greatest painter. But we could say these are basic too, right? But then let's go to the Abomination, right? Look at this Abomination. It's detailed. It's cool. I like it. Maybe some people don't. But then let's look at these Abominations, which are our normal heroes in this game mode. Oh my god. Look at Thor. You feel like the wind's blowing at him. And Doctor Strange with the tentacles coming out. Rise of Moloch, one of my favorite characters, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a ghost, but there's all these tentacles coming out from underneath her. And out of all the sculpts, she's the only one that has like this extra, and I like it. I always want to play as her. I end up being the Cult of Moloch all the time. It's a one versus many. And because I want people to enjoy it, so I'm like, yeah, I'll be the one. You guys be the many. Pick on me. All right. So, anyways, back to this. So the sculpts are much more in depth, right? And you can watch, like I said, go ahead and check out the King of Average. He does a video talking about Marvel zombies. He might have a couple, but there's one of them I was thinking about, and he was talking about how it's expensive. It is expensive, and in that video, he talks about how you can't give it to copyright or IP, right? Intellectual property. You can't put it up to that because they're printing money once they put that property on something that's already popular. I do agree. And once again, if you're watching, I doubt you'll watch this video, but if he does watch this video, I do agree you can't knock it all the way up to that, right? They are going to make money off having the IP on there, guaranteed, but they do have to pay for the IP, right? And one of my arguments is we can look at Marvel United. They have to pay for that IP, right? And the price of this is a little more. And I don't remember his view of this. He probably thinks it's a little too cutesy, and he wouldn't pay for it. I couldn't say. But you do have to pay for the IP. But what I'm saying here are these sculpts are much more in depth. They do remind me a lot more of these sculpts. Can we get something that shows them closer? These sculpts of the Massive Darkness one. Sorry if you guys are getting sick. Let's try to go slower. I want a closer picture of some of these Massive Darkness sculpts. And some people don't like Massive Darkness in the sculpts. They don't like the way they went with them. But I guess you guys can kind of see as I'm scrolling down. This is just terrain and stuff. But these sculpts are just crazy. All right? They're not based, but the sculpts, I think they're pretty cool. They're really in depth. They're a really good job. And I also think that the Marvel zombie ones does a really good job. So, do I think it's expensive? Yes. Do I think it is... All companies are going to make money, right? But do I think that CMON is trying to rip us off? I don't know if I would go that far. They're trying to make money off something they have, and that is for sure. And I kind of wonder in my head how many of you guys out there are upset that CMON's charging so much. But yet if you get it and you want to sell it, or you're going to sell a couple parts of it, or you get doubles of things, are you going to sell it for cost that you paid for it? I don't know. I've been trying to collect this stuff up. And most people aren't selling it for even double the cost. They're selling it for 3.5 times the cost. They're trying to rake that money in, right? So I wonder how many people are kind of in that area. So back to this, sculpts are a little more in depth. They do have to pay a little bit for the IP, and there are some changes to the game. It's not the same game. It's not straight up Zombicide, right? It's not. And all the Zombicides they changed a little bit, but they had to change some things in the play of the game, how the heroes work. Right? Spawns are similar. There is some difference to how the spawns work and stuff, but similar. But they had to change some of this stuff. Of course, they changed this. That's pretty easy. It's just the boards, but it's there. Now, I want to go back up to the zombies and have them in the background because they're pretty cool. All right. And of course, they have Deadpool. Oh, man. One of my favorites. They just need to get Ghost Rider in this thing. All right. Because Moon Knight's already there. Non-zombie. Make him a zombie. We're rocking and rolling. But anyways, back to it. I don't think it's just the IP that they're doing it. I think that there's more time put into these sculpts, I would argue. I don't know a lot about it, but I'd argue there's more time. There's definitely more time put into the sculpting and the designing of the base. There's more time put into the design of the game. It's not just a Zombicide slapped onto this IP, or this IP slapped onto a Zombicide, right? And then the other thing is, we all know that the cost of product has gone up. We all know that the cost to manufacture things have gone up. And we'll end up paying it too. And I haven't forgot that you have to add shipping on to this. And we all know that the cost of shipping has gone up. The reason I didn't talk a whole bunch about shipping is how I tend to look at shipping. And I've probably gotten this from other YouTubers or other people who have been doing Kickstarter longer than me. Paying full price plus shipping, you're paying for those extras, right? And it might even be Alex from Board Game Co. that first put this little nugget in my head when he talks about if you should back things or not. That extra, because you can. Now, I do know, and I'm not trying to do some hit piece and get popularity by talking about, I'm hoping they'll hear me and talk back and start something. Not really. I'm not into all that kind of drama. I think it's silly. But I do not think you will be able to buy, and the reason I say is because the King Average guy, and I do like his stuff, I watch a lot of his content, I do not think you're going to be able to buy this for $100 easily in the beginning at a game store. Definitely not a game store. Now, if you look at Amazon big box stores that can discount it, I do think you might find it for $110. Because if you look at any of the Black Plague, Green Horde and stuff, you can get them usually about $89, $100 off from $99, $10 off, $100 off, $10 off. Sometimes, right? How long? And this is, of course, you're paying for new. If you want something new, you're paying for it. But I definitely don't think it's going to be easy a wait and go for $100. Now, one thing that I do agree with that he said, and a lot of people have said this, and I don't know why they did it, and CMON probably knows why they did it and things like that, is this right here. So there's a whole second game. Oh, sorry, it's not the back one. That's the main game, right? Marvel Zombies, right? The second game is Marvel Zombies X-Men Resistance. And then this one, it's set up so you play as the hero against zombies. Now, this one is very, very similar to Zombicide. If you're arguing this one, I wouldn't say there's the extra time put in. This is almost the IP slapped onto Zombicide. But this is what some people want. Now, the thing that's a little upsetting, and I agree, is what if someone wants just the Marvel slapped onto Zombicide? They can't get that here. They can't get it. They have to buy both of the games to have that. You don't need the main game, right? You don't need Marvel Zombies to play the Marvel Zombie X-Men Resistance. They're separate games, and you can mix them, right? And in each of them, they come with cards, from what I understand, in setup, so you can play it in the other game. But I do agree that this should be separate, right? And it looks like, you can argue they're charging $120 per game, not $130. But that is what it is. Now, can you back for $1 and then just get this separately? My bet it would be that CMON will let you add this on separately in the Pledge Manager. Usually when you jump in the Pledge Manager, you can add lots of things, right? You can add whole other games. So you might be able to pay $1, get into the Pledge Manager, and just get that one, right? You might pay $130 for it instead of $120, so you get $10 off for bundling them. I can see that. But I do agree that should be an option early on. Sorry, my nose starting to get clogged. It's late. All right. So this, I do not, it is more expensive, but I don't think it's more expensive for no reason. I guess that's going to be the end of the video, kind of where I end on this whole thing. I do think Marvel Zombies is more expensive. That's a no-brainer, right? I'm not saying it's not more expensive. I just don't know if it's more expensive than it needs to be, right? We can always argue every game's more expensive than it needs to be. Trust me, I buy games at bargains and deals. But I feel like there is some reason. And remember that I'm into Marvel Zombies, and when Resvon saw this, she wanted it. She even promised me that she wouldn't ask for any games for a month if we got this one. And I thought we might not be able to buy any games for a couple months if we buy this one. But um, it is expensive. Would I have rather seen it at 120? Would I balked at it as much? No. 130, and it's a $10 difference. That's, I think, where the questioning starts coming in. But I do think there's reasons. And when you look at the breakdown of what it costs per mini and stuff, that's a little bit more. Or you look at Massive Darkness, it's very close to Massive Darkness too. So Massive Darkness core price per mini 147 versus Marvel Zombie core box price per mini 149, 2 cents more. So there's that. And I remember hearing someone a while back when I first started getting into this talking about buying some of these games that are miniature heavy. Is that's $2 per mini. That's $3 per mini. That's not bad. I don't know the cost of miniatures, right? But when you look at it that way, it's still pretty cheap per mini, right? So let's just, I'm going to end it there. Let's end it on that. It is expensive, right? You are spending some money, and I think it's not completely unjustifiable, right? It's not completely unjustifiable. And I'll just go back to say the rise in shipping cost is not covered in the game cost. I don't think. I could be wrong. They're just straight out charging you for that shipping, right? So there's that. It is what it is. With that said, I'm Steven with Cardboard Coalition. Kickstart responsibly. I'll see you later, everybody. Bye.